Let's try this. Testing audio, testing audio, testing audio. Any audio now? Was that? If you could just let me know. Okay, there we go. Shoot, sorry about that. That's so weird. That happens. Let me just rewind here. Talking about S&P 500 overall. I think you kind of got the idea of what I was talking about in looking at the buy-sell ratio. S&P 500 working on a retracement, or at least going to be inside of a range. We're probably going to be range bound. It could be anywhere inside of this area, all the way up to the upper ranges or back down. We're just not. We're just going to start to fall out of a sustainable trend here without a little bit of a counter trend, and we'll see if we get it in the. This is definitely 0.19 of 1%. One of the other thing I also said was in the beginning, it's going to be a little bit of a shorter session here, about 20 minutes, 25 minutes is also. I'm going to try and hustle through this to be able to get all the content that we want. Let's see. Let me jump back. So let me jump back to buy-sell ratio. Again, this buy-sell ratio, it's been, we've been above 1 now for a length of time. And that's been a nice healthy uptrend, but with every uptrend or downtrend, they're just not sustainable over, within a certain range. And that S&P 500 range now is, it really has just, it's been a very impressive run up. We need a little move like this. We need a little move like this. We need something. We need a little correction right here, and we're working on that. The range that we could be focused on is that 452 to 459 range on SPY. Potentially even deeper back into this 1 year time frame. That momentum zone is all the way back down here at 439, and so we could be seeing some retracement right here. It should be an opportunity to be buying into dips as that starts to happen, and but again, at the top end of the range, we just want to be a little bit cautious now in terms of adding additional positions into portfolios. Potentially even watching for some hedges. Some way to be able to hedge is utilizing an inverse type ETF, or even trading around a position, like looking for put options in the shorter term, something like that, for some risk management for some downside. Let's look at market conditions are still, let's see what we've got. VIX moving at all today. We just don't. This has been a little bit yesterday. This is one area, again, it looks just like the market, to where this is going to start to move this way now, and the market is starting to move this way. So we'll want to see if we start to get any fear in this market. We get a spike right here. Haven't seen any real news items that's spooked the market, or even potential for spooking the market, but it's we're due for a move higher on volatility. We're due for a move lower on S&P 500, and really all markets across the board. Just a retracement though, just a counter trend. So depending on your strategy, it could just be sitting on your hands and waiting, making sure that your stop losses and money management is established on open positions, and waiting for a support area to start to hold up on, and then watching for some confirmation and a move back up again. We're just seeing bullish conditions, but just pullback. These are not super concerning moves. We did see bonds. It looks like bonds are down a little bit here today. That had jumped up in that next range higher, and could have some volatility inside of this next block here. This range now back to 90, all the way back up to 93, and that's also going to have some impact on what the market's perspective is on interest rates. Sectors, if we look at sectors, we've got really sectors across the board. Energy moving lower, consumer goods moving back lower, at least a little bit of a short-term move back down. As of yesterday, it's kind of flattening right here. So I think we're going to find some of this backing and filling. This is what we want to see, though. We want to see any trend that starts to move up. Once it clears a range, once it clears this support area, we want to see it hold that next area of support. So in this case, it's actually doing it here on IYK, which is good. Let's actually go through some of these other sectors and see that are down on the day. Technology's had a huge run up though. It could retrace back to that 114. This is the iShare, which is IYW. There's lots of ETFs for technology. You can utilize QQQ, or in this case, IYW. So again, nothing overly concerning other than we just need a pullback. So I think we're going to get some profit taking off of this move here, a pullback, and then I'll be watching to see if we get any support or a bounce or an opportunity for a bounce at these levels. And hopefully when selling begins, it doesn't turn into fear-based selling and additional panic, and we really start to sell off aggressively. But we're at the range where we just don't know. We're at that range where we could see continuation of this. Part of that is going to be part of the move higher was based on interest rates and inflation. So if we start to see any news or items that are dealing with inflation moving higher or not doing, not in a scenario where the Fed can continue to maintain what they're trying to do, we may see a little bit more of a pullback on equities right here. Commodities, let's look at over these and see what we've got going here today. We'll just jump into the two that we've been focusing on. We've got gold. Gold also having a little bit of a pullback. It had this really sharp run up, and two or three or four real sharp days back up. But any pullbacks right here in gold are going to be buying opportunities, waiting for the support level, some confirmation back up, see if this this extreme range could pull back into that momentum range and create a little bit more of a sustainable uptrend for gold. USO, which is oil, we haven't seen it kind of been holding these ranges. There we go. A little gap higher and a move back down 2% today. But this counter, this is the one. We'll see if we end up getting a reversal back in oil. A big gap higher, moving higher, and then pulling back today. It's going to be pretty choppy inside of this range as it tries to decide if it wants to go up or down. This is an area now where we've got this resistance area. You can see that one actually held up pretty well. And now we're going to be back to a support area. So we're inside of this volatile range on oil, and see if we get, move this direction, or if we break out and can hold up above. For it to go any higher, it's got to get back up above that 74 on USO, and it's got to hold that and be watching for some continuation to the upside. So, and when we look at these trend or non-trending moves, these are in between scenarios when we get a lot of red and green and yellow. It's working its way back now. We still have a long-term uptrend, but it's definitely had a pretty good retracement here, and that that could shift. But this is a very slow-moving indicator, that long-term perspective, and these shorter-term ones are going to bounce around right here. It's at an area though when we're looking at swing high, swing low. We've got our support area inside that 50% 618 box. That's a demand zone. Completed pattern. It's a demand zone. Watch for some continued upside there on USO. If we look at the overall, again, just the overall perspective of the markets, coming back to the directional alerts, is we've been in this upper range now, within this overall trend for most of the year, well, for a full year, back into, well, this low was in October, November of last year. We started trending higher, and now we've been this upper end of this range. So this move here will, it can waffle up and down and kind of be inside of that, and markets can still continue higher. So even if this flattens or kind of moves its way back down a little bit, that's actually still going to be okay, because it was really extreme right here. It'd be okay if we had just kind of a slower period of uptrend or downtrend, or just not as much volatility. And that's kind of what we're seeing is this uptrend. We could certainly run to reach those highs of 477 on S&P 500 within this current trend as things are moving. Let's see any other. Let's see stock specific. Let's look at some stocks here, because what we're seeing, this is typically what we see on a day like today. Let's look at just muscle stocks. So the strongest stocks in the group, this is one of them, AAOI. It's very volatile. It's had a big run from this buy signal of 8 up to 15. So, pretty much a double, 100% just in this last move, and giving back 13%. It's still up in that momentum zone here, and so this is a natural, normal process for it to pull back. We'll see if it holds this range or if it wants to dip back down a little bit, but these are, these are not uncommon moves, and they can happen quickly on these real big high flyers when they go straight up. Sometimes they'll come straight back down, or at least pull back down into a range that becomes a little more sustainable. Let's look at a few other stocks in this group. Let me refresh this and pull in. There we go. I'm going to pull up the 1-year chart on some of these and see. This actually was a new buy in there today, and gap higher, pulling back a little bit. So there's still going to be some stocks that are moving up in this overall trend. This one's up 3%. So we're seeing medical today actually doing okay. That's a buyout. OSCR, insurance, I believe, holding in that upper momentum zone. So some of these haven't had real big moves back down. PLSE had a real big run up also from these retracement levels. Most of these are medical or biomed type stocks, which is interesting that that's becoming kind of becoming a theme here again. IREN oil, this had a big move, bouncing that first buy signal, and has had a real big run up since then as well. The new buy, so a couple of the portfolios that I maintain here is one of them's the new buy daily. This one's doing okay. We've got a few that are starting to pull back, a couple sell signals in there today to clean out, and overall uptrend. So again, the point of this portfolio is, in this case, I'm buying into the new buy stock every day, and so it can create a lot of holdings. But when you get a move like now, and then we've got, so in this case, we would have had a couple of sell signals to move out of those positions. Let's look at those actually and see. These are actually still not bad. If I go into the 6-month, they might be holding up. We get that sometimes when we get a pullback, and if it hasn't broken through that 236, I may hold it and just set a stop loss below that and see if it ends up moving back down again. Really 2 right there, but the vast majority, if we look at some of those leaders still, let's see how they're doing. LPG, it just keeps moving and moving. I think that entry was either right here or right here, and nice uptrend, pulling back. Every pullback has got some upside to it. At some point, it's going to retrace and reverse, but that's the whole point of this methodology, is to continue to just hold on to the ones that are working and getting rid of the ones that aren't working. So we're getting some of these that have had big moves. Some of them are starting to pull back. This one, SRRK, back to a hold yesterday, and a little gap higher today. So that's actually, this took off really quick. I think the entry on this one might have been, it was either back here on one of these days, might have been this bar actually, and has had a real big run up, some consolidation. This one I set a really wide stop because, and a little smaller position size on it, because I wanted to allow for some volatility. So these, anytime you got a medical biomed stock and you're adding into that, just expect, if it goes up quickly, expect it to come down quickly, and make sure that you have a plan in place for that. In this case, it's like I'm willing to ride out a retracement of some kind, and it pulled all the way back to that 50% and then took back off again. So in some cases, depending on your time frame, you might be able to take an additional trade on a pullback on a good strong stock that's in a portfolio, and you want to be able to continue to participate in that kind of a move here. Let's see what else this other hold stock was. Don't know why things are running so slow for me today. There we go, just a couple of refreshes, and we've got, what was the other sell? FTI, this is both our oil stocks, I believe. Same story right here. We'll see if it holds this level or moving higher. Need to adjust some stop losses on some of those there as well. And let's look at some of these holds. INTR, again, same setup and nice profile. This is still fine. Okay, we had the run up. I believe we probably bought into here on this new buy on that day. It went higher. Now we're in this upper range, and then just continuing to manage that right here at this level from support area, either adjusting a stop loss or watching to see if it actually pulls a little bit higher. So some nice looking setups there. And again, let me go to the sell to buy list. That one's had a little bit more volatility in it. I do have a sell. I've got a couple more sells in there as well. WFRD, same one. LNN, which is also, that was really volatile. It was a big gap, some volatility, and needs to be removed out of there. Also, let's see on some of the winners here. So this one, the strategy on this one, so this one's got a hold. GRCL, this actually had a big move the other day. Same story when you get a new buy. It's a really aggressive biotech or biomedical, making sure that position size and stop management is in place, or again, just some kind of a plan, knowing that if it's a fast moving stock and it's in a new uptrend, it could reverse relatively quickly as well. Now, depending on your methodology, you could do, this is adding in each day. That might be too many positions, but some of these are going to stick and some of these are just going to continue to move higher. So in this case, overall performance, a couple percent is all based on some of this volatility here recently. Let's see if there's anything new buy list. Let's go through some of these and see. PLTR, Palantir. This is an AI stock that has got a lot of hype right now. They're actually, and it's got a nice uptrend and it's got a nice pullback. So it's a software company dealing with, they do a lot of military contracts. They've got, there's a lot of AI software type companies that are coming on board and getting more and more popular. But this is one that it's had a real big run here from 8. So it's had this breakout. It's in that upper momentum zone. This could be one that it's starting to make some money, has a pullback, confirmation, retracement to move higher. That's in that new buy list today. AMAM. Again, the biopharma, medical bio, you're going to get some volatility in there. If you want to remove, you're never going to remove volatility, but if you want to make sure that you have, stocks that are, a little bit less volatile, maybe you're focusing, create the screen to where you're focused on, maybe you're focused on large cap only. And so you set this screen up to have market cap at 1 billion or higher. So some of these stocks, let's see, they're going to be a little bit less volatile, but still get some price performance and some price movement. This is a pretty smooth pattern here on DFH, a home builder. We still had PLTR pull in 41 billion market cap. So that's actually, a really large cap. MSTR. Some of these are still looking really good. They've broken out, pullback, counter trends, watching for some of those. And, and this is interesting, when the market shifts and we get that buy sell ratio shift, then we get some of these high ranking stocks that just continue that overall move. They just continue that uptrend. So really just in summary, be a little bit cautious right here because of market conditions where we're at. We're at the upper end of the range. We've got buy sell ratio that may be starting to come back in a little bit. Still really bullish though. We still want to continue to hold on to things that are working and winning, and making sure that you're reviewing your risk parameters in terms of stop losses and position sizing, and even considering, some trading around some positions with some inverse ETFs or selected put options on some stocks on a pullback. One of the places to look for those kind of stocks, if you go to muscle stocks and you go to weaklings right here, weaklings will oftentimes give, it's a stocks that haven't quite had real strong movement, but we get a new sell signal in a downtrend. And so these are stocks that are already relatively weak. We don't want to try and do it with the strong stocks. We want to do it with the stocks that have not had big runs. For whatever reason, this stock had a ton of resistance right here, and now it's just continuing to break down. And potentially moving down towards that next range. So looking for some bearish type scenarios, this would be one of the places to start to consider, is these stocks that are already in downtrends and just looking to continue those downtrends versus, and ideally you're a little bit further up in the trend here, but it's the ranks are relatively light on these 50 and higher. And so you're getting a stock that hasn't been performing And oftentimes, if the market pulls back, these are the first to really continue that overall sell-off. I appreciate your time and effort today. I apologize, we got to cut things quick, but we'll end on that note, and I'll have this recording up here shortly, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.